hypocritical, putting differences aside. It's easy to be blinded by your ignorance and pride, but if you know experience, give listening a try. It's simple, let's bridge the gap between this or that. It's not white or black when you only know half, but if we put it all together, we'll make it a whole. Then regardless of our feelings, the truth will get told. If your views don't match up with mine, the very same situation could feel different when I see it through your eyes. So whether it's your side or my side, cause what might be true for me, it may not be true for you. Let me speak my truth.
Whatever. What up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Truth Podcast, where we tell our versions of the truth, because that's all we know. Listen, y'all have been blowing up the comments. We don't know. We recording it ahead of time, so we just gonna pretend like y'all blowing up the comments. And y'all really want to hear more from us.
Shout out to y'all.
Definitely. Come on. We want you to like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely hit us up with the notifications. Tell us what you want us to talk about. But today, we are talking about a very serious topic. People's jobs may be on the line, but that's okay, because we are talking about why the church is unsuccessful. I wanted to title it, Why Does Church Suck? Do a little thumbnail, get you guys into some clickbait, and be like, Truth thinks church sucks, because y'all would definitely click those episodes and definitely look into them. So we're going to do that today. Why does church suck? What's going on? We're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future. So we are going to start at the old school. What did the church do back in the day that made it suck so bad? Like what was some of the things that they did back in the day that affects the future now or the present now that really just took us on this tail? My preacher was just talking about the other week how 60% of church kids or kids that grew up in church ended up leaving. 60%. And like everybody wants to be like, it's them young kids. No, it's the people that raised the young kids. Because the thing was, the reason why they left is because they didn't have a strong biblical foundation. Yeah. Where do you get that foundation from? Your parents. So we can't blame the kids. It's something that we did in the past that ended up affecting the way that it is right now. So let's talk about it. If y'all want me to go first, I'll give my opinions on why it sucked. Y'all want me to start it off or all right. So me personally, what I think the reason why it sucked, and also we getting upgrades, y'all. We getting upgrades. Come on now. Upgrades. Okay. Listen. The reason why, come on now, a large? Okay. Listen, the reason, subscribe to Fettuccine TV. Okay, listen, y'all, the reason I think church messed up back in the day was because everything was about numbers. It was about getting things big. So they were like, yo, we got to do this youth rally so we could get 300, 400 kids. And everything was about numbers. It was about being, quote unquote, relevant. Y'all, okay. So for us, we grew up in that early 2000s, late 90s type of church. That was big. Kirk Franklin, that was big rap in general. R&B and rap was huge. Y'all could tell me at least 30 times when people would just end up rapping at church all the time. Like, God is good. G-O-D, yeah, you know me. Everything was, they were trying to everything was about rap. Everything was trying to be relevant. And it was like, I say this quote, and the preacher in me says, Jesus was sold to us. He wasn't told to us. Everything was like, listen, if you get saved or you get baptized, that'll make this person get baptized and this person get saved and this person. And it's like, yo, what?
Leader,
like,
you have to do this.
Come on now. We all have had that said to us. Every single one of us has had that said to us of, listen, if you do it, everybody else will follow. Wait, but do you actually care about me or do you care about a whole bunch of people following? Because that's not the way that we should approach it. If we want you to get saved, if we want you to live your life for Christ, F them other people. I care about your soul individually, and we'll work on their soul together. But no, that's not what it was. Everything was a numerical value. And again, you can see the fruits of that even now, because everybody's like, man, remember when we had 200 kids? Remember when things were great and things was big? But when you look at it, yo, who cares about the numbers? Where are those kids now? Obviously, at the end of the day, even though all that stuff was great, some of it didn't work. And that's something that we got to address and acknowledge. Like, yo, it was popping. There was a whole bunch of numbers, but the actual core things that people were listening to and the things that actually happened, it's very slim. And for me, like I said, he was told to us, he wasn't sold to us. So everything was, especially with salvations and church, it was scare tactics. Yo, I just talked about this today when I was preaching. Remember when you were like, I don't know if I want to get baptized right now. And they'd be like, listen, brother, if you drive down the street and get hit by a car, you're going to hell. Remember when we went to Six Flags? And they'd be like, the roller coaster might break today. Where's your soul at? Where's your relationship with God?
We getting on this roller coaster. I know we're doing a youth trip to Six Flags, but now that we all on this roller coaster and everyone buckled in, boop boop, doot doot doot. So if you die, I'm going to heaven.
Yeah, that's word for word what it would be. and then they'd be like, look, there's water at the Six Flag water fountain, brother. You can do it today.
Swear.
They said we got bottles of water. We got a floatable tub. We got that touch right now. I said, bro.
We got the edit.
It really was like that.
I know that joint was a pause. That was a big pause.
Gina green screen. You know what to add with the green screen.
I'm just thinking like some maracas, some salt shakers.
No, sir.
Yes,
I'll edit in the maracas. Oh my God. Everything was scare tactics. Everything was, we want more of you, not we actually care about you. And the thing is that ties into the present because again, those foundations weren't there. And we'll talk about more of what's wrong with the present of church today. But the foundations weren't there because everything was just pushing numbers. Look, when I look in my Bible, God did great things with small numbers. He did amazing things with small numbers. And it's like, there's value in both, obviously, but we just kept trying to it was sold. It wasn't told. And I'm repeating myself. So somebody else go ahead. Or what y'all think about that? What y'all think about that?
I agree with you. It was a lot of so to branch off of your point. I would say it was almost peer pressure. You know how peer pressure is usually like, oh, you got to do drugs, that's peer pressure. Oh, you got to drink this alcohol, that's peer pressure. Oh, you got to get baptized, that's also peer pressure. If you got to teach and like, don't get me wrong, you want to steer people in the right direction, like 100%. But it shouldn't be a peer pressure. It should be, I don't know. That should be the individual's choice.
Yes,
obviously.
I was gonna say too, to piggyback a little bit off of something you said. Constantly being like, you're a leader, so X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. I think another big issue, and I know we all went through this, was the telling somebody they're a leader when it benefited you needing them to do something at church. But then when we had something to say, being like, you're just a kid. So it was literally one of those things where it was always this confusion it was a confusion of being like, okay, you say I'm a leader. So when I come to you with my concerns and things that I think are important, things that I think the church could do better, things that I think we're doing wrong, I would automatically get you're just a kid. And that never tied together. Never tied together. Nice. And I know for me personally, that just always made me feel used. Like I said, I'm a leader when you need me, but when I need you or when I have something I want to talk about, I'm not. So it just always made me feel used when I was growing up. And that's something I know I dealt with for a while with the church.
That's good.
Yeah, no, that's big. You know, even little things when they ask us to just go up and read a scripture or say something during Wednesday night Bible class or whatever it may be. They, you know, like you said, when I just think about like when we wanted that youth rally. We wanted that youth rally and they didn't listen to us. Nobody listened to us. Nobody wanted to hear us. Like we wanted it bad, you know? We did. And our voice was not heard at all, you know? So I agree to that.
But then they was like, no, brother, we need you to lead scriptures and pray. And it'll be like, why? Like,
Bro, I'll never forget when Randall led scriptures one day, and then they came and asked me, and my parents were like hounding me to leave. They're like, Randall did it,
Yup.
try it, bro. I did not want to do that, and I went up there and was like, Jesus, in Philippians 4:13. Bro, I did not want to be up there. I'm like, I don't like none of these people. I don't care about, like, I don't want to be up here. Like, bro, why they made me do that? And then I had people coming up to me telling me, like, good job, brother. I'm like, yeah, you know damn well how to do a good job.
And
Like, come on,
It's the
man.
truth,
Like,
though.
I'm over here, like, well, how old was I? Maybe 13, 14 years old. Like,
yup.
I'm like, why you need me going up? It's gonna encourage the church. Like
But
I get
the
it. Like,
pastor was up there. Oh, Timmy's not here today. Oh, what are we gonna do? Justin, come here,
Yo,
come here.
that's what it was.
yeah,
Come
that's
here.
what happened.
You know you were a leader, right, brother?
It's Randall's fault. Randall
You
said
can
no, and I
listen.
was
Good
going.
Listen,
That's
I,
usually whose fault it was. They always ask
yeah,
him first.
in church, yeah, it's definitely my fault. I'll even accept that. If I ended up not doing something, sorry, y'all.
Nah, it was
brother,
such a
brother.
what advice.
See, but that's
I
the
was
that's
like,
the thing too. If you're gonna even twist that in, I think another issue is what is leadership,
Ooh, come on.
because my leadership don't look like yours.
Amen.
Even me,
I was just
I grew up with all of y'all.
Go
I've
ahead.
known all of y'all my whole life, and we've known each other forever. Grew up together, and we all completely different leaders. Like all four of us.
Amen.
And because, like, if, for example, when we was in Express, we were traveling around singing. When something needed to be said, I'm like, I'm a good speaker. Justin's a good speaker, but people really like when Randall speak. Randall funny, so I'd be like, all right, that's your leadership role. And then when we needed the music to be done, that was my leadership role. But like, when you can't just point a finger at somebody and be like, nah, this is what a leader does. Do that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's not how it works.
It's the
Yeah,
cookie cutter
I agree.
mentality that everybody has to fit in this specific shape and piece. And if you don't, you're sinning or you're doing something wrong. Where it's like, yo, no, like that's big. I even think of like Church of Christ. Like we struggle with that hard because if you can't sing, you don't have value in the church because we don't use instruments. So it's like, what are the gifts? If you got some gifts with some instruments, like, no, you're sinning. It's like, what? How? How is that a sin? Like, again,
Are you worshiping God or
exactly. Exactly. And it's just like we have this cookie cutter view on things that they have to look like if you even compared the leaders in the Bible, they all don't look exactly the same. Some are murderers, some are rapists, some are adulterers. Like, what? No, God uses everybody in anything. And it's like what, especially in church, we want it to look a certain way. And then when these brothers and sisters can't live that the way that we want them to, then we crucify them. So as soon as one person makes a mistake, it's like, oh, they never let the church find out something that y'all did when we were kids or what we did when we were kids, and they're like, nah, that brother can never go up there ever again. We can never use him. And as y'all disclaimer, y'all, we all not saying we going to hell. We not Lil Nas X got the bloody red shoes on. We not saying we worshiping the devil. We just saying, look, I'm fed up with some of the stuff that happened in the past. And we understand the intentions were great. If you ask all of our parents, we'd be like, no, we thank you for doing that stuff in church at the end of the day. But some of it caused more harm than good.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And I think we'll really hit on that in the present, because I think it's really apparent of all the harm that it actually caused in today's present society. But just for right now, we just cracking jokes. Don't. I was about to say, get your panties out of bunch. It's all right, y'all. It's all right. It's all
I'm
right.
just thinking about the Wednesday night classes, because I went to a different Wednesday night class than you guys, because you guys are in Long Island and I was in Queens. And like being there, they always made me like a leader. Oh, Justin, you got to speak up. You got to do this. And then it all fell short to our friend Troy and Patrick. Most of the time, like if I wasn't there, if I didn't speak up or whatever, they'd be like, "Hey, brother, what do you think?" Or there's so many times they will pull me aside and be like, "Hey, like, we're gonna need you to like tell a story about this and this because this is the lesson I'm giving." And I'm just like, bro, I'm like 15, 16 years old. Like Wednesday night class was about like at 7, 8 o'clock at night. I probably just came back from practice. I don't have a story to tell you. Like you're the teacher, you know. And it was just a little frustrating, you know. I still did it because I was like, whatever, you know. But I do think there, like you said, that there's pros and cons of it. You know, there's definitely the good, but it definitely hurt a lot more. It definitely taught me like, okay, like on the spot, I need to be a leader. Okay, boom, you got it. You know, but at the same time, it's just like Greg was saying, it's like it's not what I wanted to do. It wasn't me. And then and then they're disappointed when I get older and I'm like, I become a man and I become more independent. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that stuff. Like, I don't want to be a song leader. I don't want to go do X, Y, and Z. I just want to sit in the pews and love God. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You got to play
You know,
to each
but
other's strengths. You can't just force it.
Yeah.
You got to play to
And-
that person's strengths
yeah.
as being a leader. Agreed.
And it also causes early burnout too,
Mm-hmm.
where I
Yeah,
think
big fact.
all of us are leaders, but because we've had to been a leader since we dang 12 and we all in our late 20, dang, gosh, we in our late 20, like a little, me and Greg on the other, I know y'all 26, everybody 25 and all, we all in our late 20s and now we like, dang, I already built a church at the age of 20. Like
Yeah.
it creates
Well, I-
really early burnout.
Yeah. Well, I even think about, do you remember when we had to go out into our communities and go evangelize?
The harvest
Bro,
campaign.
Oh,
Bro,
God.
I was like, you know how like scary that stuff is? And also I'm
Yeah.
We were not in a good
14.
neighborhood.
Say it again,
either.
Greg.
I'm-
Hold on, Justin. Say it again, Greg.
And that was really weird for a kid to like
Oh,
just
yeah.
have to put themselves in that
Facts.
situation.
The
Go
thing
ahead.
is that I'm 14, 15 years old, you know, maybe we were 16. From 14 to 16 years old we did that, right? And
Mhm.
like I didn't have a strong faith. Like
Yo,
I wasn't like
we wasn't even saved at that time.
No, exactly. So
wasn't.
like for me to go knock on somebody's door and then have somebody come out and I'm like, if Jesus was to come today, would you be ready? I'm over here thinking like, am I ready? Like,
Oh my
can
gosh.
I do this? Bro, and I'm like trying to talk to them and you got these brothers going like, go talk. Bro, what am I supposed to talk about? I'm gonna ask this one question. I'm gonna look
Oh my
pamphlet
gosh.
and they're gonna shy away. I'm not saving lives. I'm not out here doing the Lord's work. That's not my strength right now. You the adult, you go and do it. Or do it with me. You know, there was very different tactics and
It
stuff.
was
But they
yeah.
were just like, you know, and yo, we did it in Jamaica, Queens. They just going
That's
out.
not, like,
We just going out and there's a fence that says beware of dogs. You know, you going out, some dude opens the door in his boxers, you know, smoking some weed and stuff, and like, yo, what you want? I'll be like, you know Jesus? Yeah, my boy Jesus. Yeah, he live over by the deli. He sell me sandwich. Bro, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with that? You know?
It was definitely trial by fire, without a doubt. Either you sink or
Bro.
you swim. And if you did, if you sank, you didn't have the spirit in you. You wasn't close enough with
laughing
Jesus.
'cause you're right. Because we weren't even baptized. That's what I
We
joined.
weren't
That
even
joint really had me
saved.
crying.
That's why it's
Because they
not
out
funny
here,
now that I think
like,
about it.
what, do I have to be baptized to be saved? And I'm like, I don't know. I ain't even done
Bro,
that joint yet.
half of the time
I don't know what to tell you.
half of the time I have the pamphlet and stuff, and then they're like, "So what do you think about God?" And I'll be like, "What do I think about God?" Like,
It doesn't say it on the
looking at
pamphlet. It doesn't.
I'm like,
You're not
I'm
supposed to
just a
ask that
high
question
schooler.
yet.
Like, yeah, you know, I'm just a high schooler with high school problems. Like, I don't know what to tell, you know, and I don't know, man. Like, honestly, if I'm being super honest, I was excited about the Harvest campaign because we played ball, like,
Yeah,
after.
come on
and there was
now.
some good food
And food.
and stuff. You know, at that age, like, I wasn't really involved. You know, it'd be one thing if we were talking to kids, but we talking to grown
No, it was
adults that
grown
have
people.
problems and that, like, just
And it's a legitimate
it was
question that you're asking people. That's like no funny business. Like that's a real question. And like,
yeah. I'm
And
asking
you want
them, like,
a
if
little
they
kid should be
died.
asking you that? Like,
Yeah, I'm like half of the times I
especially one
believe
that
I
doesn't
was
know
used as
better.
a tactic because they opened the door for me because they think I'm selling them some candy or something.
Yeah, come on now, speak the truth.
That's why I mean,
I don't want to cut y'all off, but I want to explain something also that's really important that does not get talked about enough. There are two different types of conversions to Christianity. There is most of our parents and most of the generation where church was thriving, where people were living worldly lives and they found Jesus and were converted to Christianity. That's one path. Then there's our path where you were born with Christian or born knowing Christ since the day you were the day you were alive. Those types of faith and conversions cannot be taught the same way. And that's where the problem lies, is that we were taught the same type of conversion that our parents experienced, but we were raised and born in the church our whole entire lives. So it's like they knew, they were like, look, them girls, them booties is bouncing. We got to stay away. We can't be doing this stuff. It's bad. It's unbeneficial. And they knew why, because again, they was out here living their best lives. We got stepbrothers and sisters. They knew. So they were like, okay, don't do it. But then they raised us under that same mentality, and we like, yo, this is all I know. Like, this is. It doesn't.
I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to until you talked about it. Now I want to know. Now I want to find out. And it's like those conversions cannot be raised the same, because then it's literally it's a blind faith. You don't know anything. That's why we over here like, what am I supposed to say, yo? Like, come on, like, help me out. And that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. With like, there's a totally different way to raise children in faith. And the sad part is the only people that are going to be able to do it is us, because we've experienced the wrong way to do it. And so it's like, that's where that, and then the thing is, our kids are going to be like, nah, I want to live my best life. But like, again, it's a cycle, but it's like, that's something that was never talked about. That was like, yo, our parents' faith, praise God, they have amazing faith. But my faith looks nothing like yours. And I don't have the experience to be able to say at 16, 17, Jesus is the right way. That's the best way to do it. We're like, no, I'm miserable over here. My friends is all looking great, having fun. What's the big deal?
Facts.
But also, I gotta say this too. I'll go. Go ahead. Finish what you're gonna say, Justin. My bad.
I was gonna say this is something to think about. I just thought about this and stuff. During our time during the Harvest Campaign, how many of those people that came are still at the church right now? None. There's probably maybe two people that have settled down there and stuff. And I'm just like, there's also like, when you evangelize, there's a system to it. You can't just be going and telling people like, yo, you might go to hell or X, Y, and Z. You know, like, there's a way to do it. Like, you're trying to like go in and you know, talk about Christ and everything. And I'm like, bro, I don't remember any of them like that.
That's why I said Jesus was sold like a car salesman to people. He wasn't told. Everything was about numbers. We had hit 300 at the Harvest Campaign. Check it back in about a month. See how many that really is.
Exactly. But then you look at the South and everything. They got mega churches with like 50,000 people or whatever number of people. It's crazy.
Like 4,000, 5,000.
Yeah. But like, but no, I know that's cultural. But like, you look at those groups, and so the North is like, yo, the South got mad people. Like, yo, let's try to build that up. But we over here like I just think we're doing it the wrong way, and that's why we don't last long.
I mean, it has to be being done the wrong way. Otherwise, we would have the numbers and everything else to prove for it. You know what I'm saying?
Come on. That's the part that people aren't realizing. They're like, this generation just different. No, y'all did something wrong. You broke it.
The proof is in the pudding.
Come on now.
Y'all already ate it all. Gee, I'm going to just,
go ahead,
real quick. It looks so beautiful out there by Greg, yo. Greg over here glistening in the sun, yo.
Go ahead.
Shine.
Come on. He in the South. He in the South.
He said, champion sponsor me.
Come on now.
You know, hit me up. I wear you all the time, you know.
Please. Okay. And Blue Chew, if you want to sponsor us too, we can sneak in. Listen. Okay. I'm going to start the present, and y'all going to be like, Randall, you sold us out. Listen. I think the biggest problem with the present state of the church, it started with the past. We weren't taught the biblical foundations. It was sold to us. It wasn't told to us. I think the reason why church is so weak right now, and you guys are going to cover the other aspect of it, I know, because them old people got to go. But for our behalf, on behalf of the younger generation, because Jesus was not told to us, the way we were not taught how to work and to struggle. So what I mean by that is a part of Christianity, which again, this was not expressed, is suffering. Suffering is part of Christianity, but we were never taught in that way. Why? Because that doesn't fit the brand. If you tell somebody that you're going to suffer, why would I want to sign up for this?
Exactly.
But suffering is super important to how God changes us. We become stronger when we suffer, and we're gonna have to suffer in his name. And I think the biggest lie that we were told in church is that like church is where things go good. Like, you know, you may suffer on the outside, but inside you're safe. This is where you're gonna feel good, and things are gonna be better, and things are gonna look good. And the problem is because the church is just broken right now. When we go in, we experience sometimes even more or worse suffering than we do on the outside. And to that, as people who have grown up in the church, we're like, why would I go back to that? And again, reading the Bible and understanding Jesus' story, where did Jesus experience a majority of his suffering? Through religious people. And that's not talked about enough, because a lot of the suffering that we experience as Christians will be through religious people. And so I think, again, I know y'all are going to go off on the old people, and I know, and it's right, and they need to hear it. But I think our generation, we weren't prepared enough to understand the struggle of things and how, like, for example, like, we sing the joy of the Lord. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. Listen, when you look at what the joy of the Lord means, when I forgot what scripture I was reading, I sent it to Justin, but when it says, for the joy set before him, he suffered the cross. The joy of the Lord was Jesus going on that cross. What? I'm singing the joy of the Lord, and it's like, no, if I'm supposed to have a life like Christ, and I have to be a part of that suffering, I have to be a part of that that pain and that struggle. And I think what's happening right now is Satan is able to eliminate a lot of people because of the struggle, because of the state of the church right now. And so a lot of people are like, man, I don't want to go through this right now. But there's so much, like, I don't know how to explain it unless you've truly been through it, but there's so much wisdom and growth that happens in the struggle. And a lot of people, especially our generation, we run away from struggle and we run away from it. And so when we find struggle at the job, we go get a new job. We don't stick stuff out. And I'm guilty of it too. Listen, I was about to leave my church within the first year. I was like, nah, I'm out. They messed up. They ain't doing nothing right. And through the past years, I've learned and gained a tolerance for things that I'm like, oh, like there's God has a purpose for all this. But again, when you explain that to kids, remember how it was explained to us, especially all of us that played sports or did music. It was like, you gotta sacrifice your games. Don't go to the games and you'll be good. And it was just like, what? Like, you're doing it for the Lord. What does that mean? And again, some of that stuff was wrong. How is the Lord going to
benefit from this?
And so, so think about that type of learning, that type of teaching. And then we're like, all right, well, then I'm gonna not go to the games. I ain't gonna do this. And I'm gonna listen to what y'all are saying. And you're saying that my life will be better if I do these things. And then we do what we said those teachers told us to do, and our life still sucks. It's still hard. It's still struggle. And then you look over to your friends who did go to the game, who did go to prom, who did, and they live it. Their life looks great. And you're like, yo, what did I just sign myself up for? And it's like, there needs to be a talk of that whole process of what that looks like. And that's really deep and like theological and all that stuff. But it's a true point of Christianity that it's just like, no, that suffering has a purpose. And you may not see the purpose 4 or 5 years from now. And that was never explained to us. It was just like, just make the sacrifice now and your life will be good. And then all these people made these sacrifices. And then you look at the youth group and they all left because I'm like, yo, I was making all these sacrifices and I get nothing in return. And it's not explained the right way. I guess that's the right way to put it. So that's why there's so many kids and so many youth, and just, we're not youth anymore. So many young adults not at church anymore. Because y'all told me this joint, I listened to it, and my life, the people that are not in church are doing better than I am. And that affects a lot of people's faith. And again, there's a process of dealing with struggle and dealing with Christianity and living a life for God that we may not see the fruit for. It's like I said, it's a deep concept to grasp, but we did not talk about suffering enough and what that actually looks like and what that means in people's lives. We just kind of just we just told people good ideologies and good little quotes and read your Bible every day, you'll be blessed. And like little sayings like that it was like, no, the foundations were not told to us correctly. And I'll leave on this too. All of our dads and families are proof of suffering reaps, or like through suffering things get better. But again, like think about all the people that didn't have that. Like we can all go to our dads and be like, yeah, yo, you went through some stuff, but it all worked out in the end, and I can see how God has blessed your life. But that was never explained. It was just like, don't touch girls. Don't look at girls. You're gonna get them pregnant. When we should have been talking about, no, like you want to build a legacy. You want to stop generational curses. You want to do like, I think sometimes we talk to little kids like they're little kids, but they're really just young adults. Like we can handle that stuff, but just be real. Everything was so cookie cutter and baby. But my bad, y'all. I took up half the podcast on that. My fault. Go ahead. I'll cut a lot of that out.
I'm gonna say too. I'm gonna just go off and start on it because I've been waiting to say it. One thing I'll say first is that I feel like a lot of the time Christianity is selling an end goal without how to get there. So like we just say like, oh, you're gonna be so happy. You could be just like me. It's almost like a pyramid scheme sometimes, where it's like, oh, like you can get here, but you got to put in the work, and you could get here. And then they get in and they're like, okay, I'm here. Like, how do I get to you? And it's like, see, with you and God, that's between you and God, bro. You got that. And it's like that just it made no type of sense because it's something that we don't do a lot in the church. I mean, I could just talk about it on a grand scale. A lot of the times we are not open about the stuff we are going through. Like, bro, you remember, I'm not even gonna say the camp because I ain't gonna bring names up. But there's this one camp we went to when we was traveling with Express where there was kids who were struggling with something, right? And we very openly we're talking with them about it, just saying like, hey, we've been there, like this is how we got through it, and they were mad at us. The counselors at the camp were mad at us for bringing up that information.
Was because I there?
The way it's
I was about to say,
you were there.
It sounds like about 4 or 5 camps we've been to.
But there's one I'm thinking of specifically because we didn't go back to this one after that year.
Okay.
They didn't
got it.
But the thing is that it was literally, they literally basically said to us, we don't talk to the kids about going through stuff like that. So how are they going to figure out how to do it? We've been through it. Why am I not going to give them the knowledge I have to get through what you're struggling with? Like that's first of all weird.
That makes no sense.
And then secondly, I'll say this quick because I know we're going to talk about this. The current issue right now, in my opinion, the biggest one, is old people.
Come on.
Old people don't know how to adapt. They're stuck in their ways. They've decided for example, churches we've gone to where they've decided that wearing shorts is inappropriate. That's that. There's no conversation. There's no meeting. The's nothing.
There's no scripture.
You either follow these rules or don't come to church.
He said there's no scripture.
That's true.
And remember when JJ?
Yeah, JJ said
yeah.
No, I was just adding.
But that's the thing too. I was gonna say one more. Remember, we was at a rally and we performed. And when we were done, they couldn't clap. The kids just had to stare at us because we were in a church building.
Bro, that joke's funny.
And weird stuff like that.
We weren't even in a church building. We were in a cafeteria.
You're right.
We weren't in the church building. We were in a cafeteria.
Yeah.
Were we?
Yeah.
We were?
Yes. We were in a cafeteria.
He's right on that.
And they said, we are Express. And the kids said,
they couldn't clap.
Is it because I made us be in that cafeteria? I'm trying to think.
No.
We were supposed to perform outside? No?
No.
No. We were just in there, and their rules were literally that they just weren't allowed to clap. Like, that's that. And this is the way we do things. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's just the way we do things. That's killing the church. Easily.
Oh, big time.
Easily.
Comfortability. When it
happened 2 times. My bad. That happened 2 times. There was the other camp. It was outside. And like they couldn't clap, they couldn't cheer, but one of our boys who was the one of the ministers, one of the youth ministers. He was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
you're right. You're
it's
right. You're right. I
Frank!"
forgot
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah,
And
you're
we were
right.
like,
You're right.
"Yo, that
Yeah, I
joke was
forgot about
so
that.
good." And
No,
then
Yeah.
it's
Randall was
true.
beatboxing. Randall was
Mm-hmm.
beatboxing.
Yeah, yeah.
That joke was
But
so funny.
I'm sorry, JJ's making me die. Go ahead, G. Go ahead. I'm not trying to. He just said, yeah. But needless to say, no, it's the comfortability. You're 100% right. We are getting too comfortable without actually. We're getting too comfortable with what is going on, especially the older people, and there's no room for explanation.
Mm-mm.
It's the what do they always say? The worst thing you can say, we've always done it this way, and never question it. And that's exactly what it is. It's never questioned. It's never talked about. It's just like this is just the way that it goes. But anybody else? Justin, JJ?
Just gonna tag on to that old people point. It's not even like obviously we're saying y'all gotta go, but it's like, okay, y'all just gotta step down. You guys
Yes, sir.
continue
Yeah,
to
you
be
don't gotta
leaders,
go, but you
continue
gotta
to be
sit in the
leaders,
pews.
but allow those that are relevant, that
Come on.
understand, that can connect the two worlds. Talking about J. Cole, Middle Child, can connect the old and the youth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, go
like
ahead.
the stubbornness, the not willing to adapt and just kind of see both sides and kind of hear. It's just completely closed ears, and we're always told, "Oh, you got to open your heart, open your ears, make sure you listen, and you got 2 ears for a reason." Da da da. But like, you don't get that visual example because it doesn't happen. Like,
Come on.
so now, but anyway, I'm gonna keep going. So another reason that what is it? What do you think so many people don't go? Okay. Is just like that pressure still. When
Go ahead, G. Go ahead. I'm
Oh,
gonna
it's
edit
that
that
pressure.
out. I'm gonna probably leave it in. That joint was funny.
No, G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that continued pressure. Like, okay, they see a grown young man
Oh,
put
yeah,
together,
you're right.
comes to
You're church.
Right. You look like you could talk to somebody. Go step up on that podium and go say something. No, I don't go here. What?
Yeah.
I'm
Ask
visiting
Randall what they
Florida.
did to me at that church. They made me
like I'm on vacation. I wanted to go to church in another state because I like, but now I gotta come up here and teach a lesson. Like, I wasn't ready for this.
fact, bro.
But-
That happened all the time. Yeah, that's bad.
Well, you can't be in attendance without someone
really
kind of
can't.
like forcing on
Facts.
you. Not that like that you shouldn't ask. You know what I'm saying? Like da 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 da. But like,
Facts, bro.
I
Yeah.
don't
right.
know, man. Like, let
Big
it
facts.
like ease into it. Y'all don't gotta. Come on.
Bro, I can't tell
Um,
you how many times I went with Randall to some church, and Randall be like, "Gee, they're probably gonna ask you to do stuff." I'm like, "Bro, I'm just here to visit you." They're like, "Oh, brother Randall. Oh, who's
Every
this?
time.
Oh, do you want to pray? You want to do that?" I said, "Bro,
Yup.
I'm like, bro, I don't even got dress clothes." They said, "Don't matter. Go." I said, bro. Then I got people
Ask
come up to
if
me
you
to
came with a
ask me-
lesson.
Yeah.
Yup.
They said
Oh,
they
man.
asked me after church. They said, "You a new member?" I said, "No, I'm just visiting." I'm like, I'm just here for him. I'm like, bro, put me on the spot, big
I'm
time.
sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. That happened all the time with y'all. I'm
All
sorry.
But
the
it just happens wherever you go. It's just a thing
Yeah,
that
no,
happens.
facts.
And like, I don't know, you can't exactly like, and maybe I don't know, maybe that's me and it's a good thing, and it's like
No.
they giving you that chance, but it's
It
like,
has to
yo,
do with
like,
what Greg said originally of using. They don't really
Yeah.
care about you. They just want to be able to say we have young
Exactly.
people at our church.
You don't even know who that person is. You don't even know what their
Yes.
name is yet. Like,
No.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
church Justin specifically, that was just they just crazy. Like shout out, I
I'm done.
love them. They was just
I'm
like
too.
they was just like, yo, brother, do you got a song? Like that's a church. I'll tell a story because that just church is so funny. One time I was at that church. That's a church I went to in college when I was in Philly. So one time I was at this church and yo, I don't even know. I'll tell 2 stories because these joints is actually funny. So y'all will laugh. Yo, one time I was in church. We were doing opening announcements, and this random brother who don't go to our church just stood up and just in the middle of an announcement said, "Your grace and mercy." And now he's singing in the middle of announcements. Ain't nobody know what's going on. Half of the church is like, brother, shh, shh, be quiet, be quiet. The other half is like, let him sing. Sing your song, brother, go. And I was just like, yo, what is going on? That was one time. Then another time at that church, yo, we were in the middle of communion. In the middle of communion, his brother was like, all right, Brother Sylvester, dang, I'm using real names. Oh, well, Sylvester Jones is going to be praying for the fruit of the vine, and Brother Gaiman is praying for the bread, which was broken. Brother Gaiman, go ahead. And he's like, Father in heaven, thank you so much. And he was just like, y'all, do I got the bread or the juice? I forgot. And they're like, the bread, brother, the bread, the bread. And he's like, thank you for the bread. Which, like, yo, that church, they just was free with it. Like, that church was my favorite. Because you would walk in the church and they'd be like, who gonna do songs? Who gonna do opening announcements? They didn't have nobody planned. So somebody, and then they'd be like, Brother JJ, can you do it? And he'd be like, no, I ain't doing that. And he'd be like, all right, brother, thank you. Next person, like they just be going and saying stuff. So that church is different, but I get what y'all are saying. No matter what you do, if you step into a church, you gonna get used. Literally used. Ooh. Thank you for watching another episode of Truth Podcast, where we tell our versions of the truth. Listen. Definitely comment down below because we want to hear your opinions, what you got to say. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And also hit the notification bell. That way you know anytime we drop another episode. Be on the lookout. We're Truth, and this is Fettuccine TV. We out. Peace.